Hello. Hi, Swati. So, for the people who don't know, I'm Dr. Amrita Rajpal. I'm a consultant with Taabur, and I'm so excited to be with all of you today. We're waiting for a few more people to come on before we start on this really important topic: good touch, bad touch. So, tell me, from where are you? Which part of the world are you all from? We just wait for a few more minutes so other people will come in. Okay, we're starting now. So, today we're going to be speaking about a really very important topic: good touch, bad touch. And this is a really very important topic because 1 in 5 girls and 1 in 20 boys is a victim of child sexual abuse. Studies have shown that 20% of adult females and about 5 or 10% of adult males can remember a childhood sexual assault or a sexual abuse incident. So I'm sure many of you also remember, when you have been abused, and it doesn't have to be something very drastic, but it has to be abuse. It's something which should not be done. And there are 1 million, actually not 1 million, 1 billion children between the ages of 2 to 17 who have experienced this some part or the other in their lives. Now these are really very big numbers, and it is a cause for concern. A concern that we parents have to be aware of, and we have to take action. I'm going to be telling you all, an incident about what happened to me. I was 12 years old. 12 years old is not a small child. 12 years old, is nearly a teenager. A family friend came home, and he was an IAS officer. He didn't come alone. He came with his family, which is his wife and his 2 children. Very polished, very distinguished, very well spoken, very educated. And I was helping my mother serve snacks. And when I passed him, I felt him brush against me. And it didn't feel very comfortable, didn't feel very good. But I didn't know what to do, and I didn't even know whether it was, something I was imagining, or was this touch good or bad, because our parents had never spoken to us about these things. And 12 years old, being quite unaware of all this, so I said, okay, let me just ignore it. Maybe I'm imagining things. And the next time he came home, again with family, children, everything, he actually felt my bottom. Now that was very, very uncomfortable. Anyway, I didn't know what to do, so I kept quiet. And when he went home, I told my mother rather, and I told her, you know what? Uncle touched me like this and it didn't feel very nice. And what do you think my mother said? My mother said, how can you even think like that? He's such an educated man. He's from such a good family. He's got children, decent man, good background. Why would he do something like that? I'm telling all this because we have all these preconceived notions that people who abuse children are from a bad background, don't follow social norms. They are not well educated, they're not well read. They, look jungly or look bad or whatever. But that's not true. An abuser can be anyone. And there is something really horrific. And what is really horrific is that 85% of the people that get abused, children that get abused, are getting abused by people they're aware of. They know. They're familiar with. And that is shocking. That's not only shocking, it's quite disgusting actually. Anyway, I want to tell you, I was 12. I had no experience of what was happening with me. But I think every child should have an experience, should know what all this is about, and they should know that they have a right to say no. We teach our children not to play with matches. We teach our children not to put their finger in an electric socket. We teach them about road safety. We teach them about healthy food because we want them to be safe. We want them to be healthy. It's very important to talk to them about keeping their body safe. And we need to talk to them early. We can't wait for them to become 12 like me and be confused. Right? We can start with little things. Start talking to your child and say, this is your body. Let's think of ways that you can keep your body healthy and safe. Do it in a daily routine. Like how you would say, this is my hand. Don't put your hand in the fire, it's going to get burnt. How would you tell your child to buckle up himself or herself in a seat with a seat belt? No, it's a natural thing. We talk about road safety, everything, and everything's in a normal tone. So speak to your child in a normal tone and keep it natural. This doesn't have to have, a lot of hullabaloo created around it or a lot of, chaos or whatever. And we don't have to scare the child because it's nothing to be scared about. This is something, it's an important life skill that they have to learn, just like keeping the rest of them safe. So start by telling them, keep your body safe. If someone, their peer or their sibling or anyone pushes them in the playground, say, don't push me, I want to keep my body safe. It could just start with something as simple as that. And then of course you grade it up and tell them, that they have to have ownership of their body. Their body is theirs. They're responsible for it. Also tell them, give them options. That, if an aunt comes home or an uncle comes home, how would you like to say hello? Would you like to go and hug auntie? Or would you like to do a high five? Or would you like to shake hands? So what do you feel like doing? Let the child choose. If someone gives them a chocolate, say, would you like to give them a fist bump? So what is it that you want to do? You want to shake hands? Whatever. And now you can talk to them about good touch or bad touch. And now good touch and bad touch is also safe touch and unsafe touch. So when your mama picks you up, when you fall down, gives you a hug, how do you feel? You feel safe, you feel nice. So that's what you do. You get a hug and you feel good about it. So that's a safe touch. But if someone's squeezing you, pinching you, touching you, and you're not comfortable, it's an unsafe touch. You can also make a list of things. Patting yourself on the back, someone pats you on the back, how do you feel? Does it feel good? When someone shakes hands, how does it feel? Does it feel nice? So then it's a safe touch. So now there's this very efficient way of teaching children. And it's a very easy way of teaching children. It's called the swimsuit rule. When you take your child for a swim, and if you don't take your child for a swim, it's perfectly all right. You could possibly have a doll, or you could have a picture of a doll. A doll could be male and female, of course, and wearing a swimsuit. And then tell that child, what is covered with your swimsuit is your private part, are your private parts, actually. And nobody is to look at these private parts. No one is to touch these private parts without your permission. You cannot allow anyone to do that. If your friend or someone wants to show you their private part, you have to tell them, no, your private parts are your private parts. So I'm not going to see them, and you can go back and tell your teacher, or you can tell your mother, whoever is the responsible adult over there, and tell them that this person is doing this. So a child is very clear right in the beginning, just like you would be telling him any other thing, that private parts are private and they're yours, and no one's to touch them, no one's to come and look at them, and no one's supposed to ask you anything about them. And that makes a child also have a way, a voice, and knows what to do when they have something like this. You can also make a little script, about saying no. So you could have a doll, and you could have, in fact, there's something trending on the internet right now about a teacher, and she holds a child and she says, how is it for you? And it's a bad touch, say no. And the child says no. Now, a child is not going to understand the first time, because if you tell the child not to put his finger or her finger on the electrical socket, they don't understand the first time, right? Correct? You have to keep repeating this. You have to keep saying this. You have to role play it. You have to create that very simple script. My private parts are private, and no. So no touching. And go and tell your mama, or go and tell your teacher, or whatever. Now this script doesn't have to be a scary script. And this whole thing doesn't have to make your child scared. This is something which is like teaching your child any other life skill, which unfortunately was not taught to my generation, but very important to teach now. So what you do is just speak normally, keep your tone natural, talk about it naturally, and this is the way you go about it. I also want to tell you that child abuse is not limited to girls. Child abuse can extend to boys also. So my son was in school, and he was somewhere in the 4th standard, and I put him in an after-school class, which was drama and speech and whatever. And In the middle of the class, the principal called us and she said she's told the teacher to leave and she wanted to have a meeting with us. And then she said that she found out that the teacher was abusing boys. So it could happen anywhere, and it could happen with anyone. And as I mentioned earlier, it mostly happens with people your child is familiar with, because that's when your child can go and sit in their lap or be comfortable, or or these people will have access to your child. So, this conversation has to be had with both boys as well as girls. Another thing is, communication plays a very key point out here. If a child has been abused or is being abused or is upset about the way someone is handling them, then I think the child is going to be a little scared about speaking about it, or may not know what to say. Just like I was at 12, didn't know what to do, and should I speak about it, or was I imagining things or whatever. So that's the time you as a parent need to probe. You need to tell your child when your child goes out anywhere. It could be a bus, it could be anything. That someone's carrying you into the bus, tell them where to hold you. They can hold you here and then carry you. They're not supposed to touch you in your private parts. So, or they're not supposed to do something that you're uncomfortable with. So your child is already aware and knows how to communicate right in the beginning. Now some children may not be able to tell you something like this happens. So that's when you will have to prove. If you see that your child is quiet, irritable, or whatever, if your child is just not being himself, and that's when you will have to start opening lines of communication and start probing. So there was this child in school, and this child went to, refused to go in the school bus and told the mama that the mama has to be dropping the child. And now it was so inconvenient for the mother, because the school bus is such a convenience. The mother is always busy in the morning, or the parents are busy in the morning, and dropping the child when the bus facility is available. Anyway, the parents dropped the child, and then they saw the child was much happier and wanting to go. But the mother kept asking the child every day, why are you feeling like this? Why don't you want to go? Did your friend tell you something? Did the bus driver do something? And whenever she spoke like this, the child was a little quiet and withdrawn. And then finally one day, the child told her that the bus conductor was coming and sitting too close to her and wanting to touch her legs. And she didn't like it. So now the mother could take action. But this happened only because the mother kept on probing. So when you don't probe and your child is not behaving like his normal self or her normal self, then your child may not be able to communicate. So communication is very, very important. Are there any questions over here? Is there something that anyone wants to ask? I think I can see Sinato coming. So, yeah. I have a question here. What words do we use when we talk about the anatomy? So, the words you can use, and what's the best way of saying these words? So, Amrit is asking this question. So, Amrit, if I tell you to use a word that you are not comfortable with, you're not going to be able to, say the word. So it's very, very important that you start speaking the language, right? So if you can't say a bad word and I tell you to say a bad word, you will not be able to say it. If I tell you to say a word for a private part and you are not comfortable saying it, you cannot expect your child to be comfortable saying it, right? For all of us, we live in different cultures, and sometimes saying the word like a vagina for a vagina may not be comfortable. It's perfectly alright. Then you just say private part, and you can say upper private part or lower private part. But if you do say the words, then the child can tell you exactly what the child means. And also, it's not a big deal when I speak about a hand. What do I say? Does it mean something else if I say something else? Right? So the hand is the hand. So if you use the word for it, it's perfectly fine. But if you're not comfortable using the word, don't force yourself to use the word. Don't go and fight with your people in your house and say, oh my God, you're using these words. And just because someone told you to use it, you can sort of work around it. And if you are using the correct words, like a vagina or a penis or whatever, you can also tell your child, this is the correct word. These are the words a doctor uses. No? So they're doctor words. Like just like your hand and your leg and everything. So they're not snickering about it or making fun with it or whatever. So I hope that answers your question. Yeah. I can see some other questions here. My baby is 4 years old, only she couldn't even speak clearly. Yes, children who are 4 years old can speak. The point is, you have to give them an opportunity to speak. You have to give them the language to speak. You have to tell them what they're supposed to speak out here. If you have done this role play a couple of times, Shivali, with your child will be comfortable enough to tell you that I experienced a bad touch, that it's not very nice. Then you can probe and ask, what happened? Who touched you? And, take it forward. So, it's the same thing like saying at 12 years old I couldn't speak. But I couldn't speak because I didn't know how to speak better. Jyotsna says, at our times things were different. We weren't that comfortable talking, but we have changed. We have to build a safe talking relationship for our children. Absolutely. You have to build that safe relationship with your child where your child can tell you everything. You have to speak to your child, about everything. And what's the best age? Shivani is asking me what's the best age to have this conversation. Shivani, the best age to have this conversation is when your child is 2 years old. You don't have to be speaking everything at one time. Just telling your child, your body is your body. You have to keep your body safe. People are not going to be touching your body all the time. Or, no one's supposed to pinch you, hit you, push you. So your child will understand, and start it young. I can see Pooja asking me on similar lines, can you help me understand what's the right age to talk about sex education? Pooja, I want to tell you that we don't talk about sex education all at once. Sex education has many layers to it. And we need to start speaking about the body first. We have to talk about the anatomy. We have to speak about body parts. We have to speak about the uses of the body. We're going to be talking about a reproductive system. And sex is part of that. When you come. When a child is near puberty or whatever, and all these layers have happened and is ready to be learning about this, then you can speak about it. And you can speak about it very normally and naturally. It takes a long time for a child to understand these things if the child is not exposed to it earlier. But if you are exposing the child earlier to this kind of conversation, then you will have to take it layer by layer earlier. Deepika Sharma says, won't talking about bad touch instill fear in children? Deepika, let's not instill fear in children at all. When your child is sitting with you and you're talking about safety, you're not getting the child scared. You're telling the child that we have to be safe, right? We don't people pinching you. We don't want to hurt our hands by putting our hands in the fire, right? Now, when your child is near the fire, then obviously you are worried and you're upset and you will be concerned, and possibly your voice will raise and the whole posture will change and everything will be different, and there will be fear from your side and fear from the other child's side. But this is a life skill just like anything else. Let's just keep it normal, keep your tone normal. This is the way you go about it. You don't have to instill fear at all. Your child just has to know, like, I'm going to be looking left and right and crossing the road. If someone touches me, I'm going to be saying, no, you can't touch me. These are my private parts. And has to go and tell someone else, because they want to keep their body safe. Right. What are some signs that my child may have experienced a bad touch? Shivam, your child is not going to be his normal self if he has experienced a bad touch. A child could become quiet. A child could become irritable. Could be, wanting to isolate himself, not wanting to mix around with other people. Bedwetting is something which happens because there is fear. There could be nightmares. Your child could want to avoid people or may not want to meet certain people or whatever, like this child I spoke about going to the school bus. These are all signs that the child is not feeling normal. There is something wrong, and that's where you need to take action. Yeah. What should I do if my child discloses a bad touch experience? Varun Agarwal. Varun, you should be really grateful and thankful that your child is doing this, because this is the time you can do something about it. And it's not too late, because you already know and you can stop it. Many times children don't communicate and they don't know what to do, and they're confused, and they've never had this role play, or they've never had this education, or they've not learned this life skill. So they don't know and they're confused in their head about what to do. But if your child says that, they have experienced something like this is the time you sit with your child and you comfort your child. This is the time you support your child. And sometimes children don't know how to verbalize what has happened. So when they tell you, you can paraphrase what they're saying, or you can say, do you mean this is what happened? So you are clear about what the child is saying. Your child may be talking about something else and you may be thinking about something else. So that is also something that could happen. So ask your child. Now if you keep repeating what your child said, then your child is hearing what you are saying and may believe that to be the truth. So ask your child, is this what you meant? Is this how it happened? Right? And then please take action and make your child feel safe. Tell your child, I'm here to keep you safe and nobody can harm you. And it could be anyone. I can say a question out here. So Jyotsna says, my daughter is a curious one and she's aware if what has been happening around, specifically rape. Now she started to keep away from boys. What to do? This distance might increase with age. I want to know how old your daughter is, Jyotsna, and she knows about this, because this question this answer will be different for a different age. In the meanwhile, I'm taking the next question. Aditi is asking, how can I ensure my child feels safe discussing these matters with me? So how can you ensure your child feels safe discussing these matters? Is because you need to create a bond with your child, Aditi. A parent-child bond is the bond where a child is supposed to feel totally safe. This is your child's safe circle to be able to say anything, anytime, all the time. It could be about school, it could be about bullying, it could be about feeling incompetent, inadequate, and also if someone is harming them. So you have to ensure your child feels safe by creating a bond and making sure that you and your child can talk about everything. Spend some time with your child and create this bond. So Jyotsna, your child is 8 years old and your child already knows what rape is. So I don't know if she knows exactly what rape is, but she knows that it is something bad. And you can tell your child, this happens to people who are not careful and don't protect their body. But we are going to protect our body, right? And it's not only boys that can do it, anybody can do it. It can be a old person, it can be a young person, it could be a lady who wants to touch you inappropriately. So you need to talk to boys, but you need to be very clear about keeping your body safe. And this is your body. So these are your private parts and nobody is supposed to see them. No one's supposed to touch them. And you can go and play with them, you can talk to them. Everybody is human and we talk to everyone. So talk about other elders in the family who are also men or boys and they are normal and they are nice. So I think the child will understand. Is there anything else anyone wants to ask? So I love speaking to all of you and I want to tell you that this is very, very important. Teach your child to keep himself or herself safe, right? We can do it to a certain extent, but we're not with our children all the time. But your child needs to be able to keep himself or herself safe. So please do that. And if you have any questions, please reach out to me at askamrita@taabur.com. It was lovely being with you all. Bye-bye.